Ms. Como,
Here.
Dr. Cooper-Stoll,
Here.
Mr. Jimenez,
Excused.
Ms. Leahy,
Here.
Mr. Lee,
Here.
Mr. Meyer, Mr. Meyer.
I have not heard from Mr. Meyer, Laura.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Korberg,
Here.
Mr. Spivey, Mr. Spivey,
I have not heard from Mr. Spivey.
thank you. Mr. Turner, Mr. Turner.
I have not heard from Mr. Turner.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Baines,
Here.
thank you.
All right. Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay. A quorum of the Board of Education is present, so the public budget hearing of October 19th, 2020 is called to order. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now move to the budget presentation.
Good evening. So tonight's budget hearing is based on a preliminary budget approved by the board, as shown in the attached 2021 proposed budget plan document. The revenue limit minus the state aid equals your local taxes. The revenue limit makes up approximately 80% of the operating budget. The 2019-21 state biennial budget increased state general equalization aid funding statewide. At this time, we are anticipating a state aid increase of 1.78%, or $576,291 from the prior year's state aid allocation. However, an increase in aid does not increase the ability to spend, but it does lower the local tax impact. The proposed property tax levy shows an estimated decrease of 4.46%, or close to $2.3 million from last year. The equalized property value has been estimated at a 2% increase over last year. Based on current estimates, the gross levy rate, the mill rate, is calculated to be $10.32 per $1,000 of assessed value, or $1,032 per $100,000 of property value. This is a decrease of 6.4% over the prior year, or a $70 decrease per $100,000 of assessed value. The levy credits that flow through the municipalities will further decrease the impact of the school levy and result in the net levy rate, but those dollars are not known until December. Currently, the proposed budget is posted on the district's website. When all numbers related to the revenue limit, enrollment, property values, vouchers, and other exemptions are known and calculated, the budget plan document will be updated in time for the levy to be set on October 26, 2020. Are there any questions from the audience or the board?
Okay, if there are no questions or comments from the public or from the school board, then we're going to move to the action portion of the meeting. I'm going to need someone to make a motion.
I will make a motion to close the public budget hearing.
Second.
A motion has been made by Ms. Como and seconded by Mr. Korberg to close the public budget hearing regarding the 2020-2021 School District of La Crosse operating budget. We'll now have a roll call vote.
Ms. Como,
Aye.
Ms. Leahy,
Aye.
Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer, Mr. Meyer, Mr. Meyer, have you joined us? Okay, I'm not receiving a response, so I'll move by. Mr. Korberg,
Aye.
Mr. Spivey,
Aye.
thank you. Dr. Cooper Stoll,
Aye.
and coming back, Mr. Meyer.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spring, for that presentation as well. All right, so with that, we're going to adjourn the regular Board of Education, adjourn to the regular Board of Education meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, so a motion has been made by Mr. Korberg and seconded by Ms. Como to approve the agenda as presently distributed. We will have a roll call vote unless there is a motion to amend.
Ms. Como,
Aye.
Ms. Leahy,
Aye.
Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Korberg,
Aye.
Mr. Spivey,
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll.
Aye. We do not have any public speakers registered this evening. I will ask if there are any consent agenda announcements.
I would just make one announcement. As I look through our consent agenda and read the grants and contributions to the board, I am continually impressed with the generosity of our community. And so if you haven't had a chance to look through those, the range of things that members of our community have donated to and the range of folks from whom those contributions come from is truly impressive. So a shout out to our community and thank you for that incredible generosity.
So the consent agenda is a mechanism used by the board to deal with routine business that must come before the body. Are there any items that members want to remove from the consent agenda? So I will entertain a motion in a second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the superintendent's consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I think that was at the same time. So a motion has been made, Mr. Korberg, second by Mr. Spivey, to approve the items on the superintendent's consent agenda as presented. And we'll have a roll call vote.
Ms. Como,
Aye.
Ms. Leahy,
Aye.
Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer, I think has jumped off. Mr. Korberg,
Aye.
Mr. Spivey,
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll.
Aye. We're now going to move to the board consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the board consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Korberg and seconded by Ms. Como to approve the items on the board consent agenda as presented. We will have a roll call vote.
Ms. Como,
Aye.
Ms. Leahy,
Aye.
Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer, Mr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Korberg,
Aye.
Mr. Spivey,
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll.
Aye. Okay, we're going to skip all the way down to information, and we have the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Fall Regional Meeting Report.
Dawn, did you want to do this, or should I, or it doesn't matter?
No, you go ahead, sir. You are so good at writing it up.
As you can see, we had our meeting on Tuesday the 6th. It was only an hour-long meeting, and of course, we couldn't go anywhere this year. Usually we get an opportunity to go to a school district and find out something about that school district. A year ago, we went to Black River Falls and found out a lot of neat programming that they do with their Native American community. And so we look forward to being able to do that in the future. Couple things I'll just kind of, I know you can read, but I want to highlight a couple things. One is congratulations to Dawn Como on our board. She reached level 3. That's 225 points, which doesn't mean a lot to anybody, but it means basically that Dawn has done a lot of, attended a lot of meetings as well as education events presented by WASBEE. And those points add up every time you go to something. You get points for that, and you can continue to progress up the level to receive that. So she's at level 3. And then she was also recognized for serving on the WASBEE Policy and Resolutions Committee. We did have an election in our region. Every 3 years, you elect somebody from the region, our region 6. We reelected Mary Jo Rosemanowski of Black River Falls. She's been very involved in WASBEE, and in fact served as the WASBEE president, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and she was reelected to a 3-year term. Then there was just a brief update on the legislative issues. The executive director, John Ashley, thanked the boards in the region and throughout the state as well for straddling the continuing of COVID and all the changes that are taking place. The 100th annual convention was going to be a great knockout convention in Milwaukee, but now it'll be a great knockout convention via web. And so you will have a chance to virtually attend this event. It goes the 20th to the 22nd. They haven't started a registration yet, but I'm sure Laura will be getting this info out when they do. And I've gone to a number of these and would recommend them. I'm always impressed by the quality of speakers that they have. And there are always great messages that leave you really thinking about what you should be doing on the board and what school districts should be doing. Some of you are Packer fans, and I know some of you aren't, but Donald Driver is going to be one of the keynote speakers, and it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. But there usually are, I think, 3 keynoters, and so those are usually kind of the highlighted. And if I didn't give you enough info and you want to see the whole meeting and review, there's the link right there. Any questions from anybody?
Thank you, Mr.
Nice
Korberg,
job.
for
Yep.
updating us on all the information. And congratulations to Ms. Como. And thank you for all of your service.
Thanks.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have announcements. So, Mr. Baines, do you have any announcements for us this week?
Recently we elected class officers. So there are class officers for the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Student Senate has been meeting recently, and we are starting to get things moving. We've had committee meetings, and I may be bringing some things to the board later in the future. Students and staff that I've talked to are excited to return to school, but obviously we want to do that safely. Other than that, I don't think I have anything to report.
Thank you, Mr. Baines. Appreciate that. All right, next up, we've got announcements by Ms. Como.
Well, actually, I wasn't able to make it to the CISA 4 meeting, so I don't have any updates for that. I can tell you on Friday night, I had a meeting at 7 o'clock in regards to the policy and procedures. There's 10 that they are kind of previewing right now, and I will be online Saturday morning at 9 a.m. going into small groups to discuss it a little bit further. And once we have a little more information, I'll bring it back our way to discuss it.
Thank you, Ms. Como. Mr. Korberg, do you have announcements for us?
The only thing I have is that they extended, the Public Education Foundation extended the opportunity for proposing grants, I think by about a week. But anyway, those are due, I don't remember the date. It's the first week of November-ish. And I know the grants committee is planned, we have our meeting planned to go through those and award those grants. And usually there are a lot of good ones in there. And often it's hard to select. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the proposals that will go in tangent with, I'm sure, a lot of things going on in the district regarding COVID.
Thank you, Mr. Korberg. I don't have any announcements for the board this evening. Dr. Engel, do you have any announcements?
Just one. Thank you. We had recently made the decision last Wednesday to reopen elementary schools on October 26th. This was based on, almost 3 weeks of data indicating a decline in COVID cases in our county, and an average rate, 7-day rate per 100,000 individuals in our community of 26.9, which is very close to that 25 that we're looking for to be able to get into the orange category in our decision matrix to reopen. And to this point, we have let the advice of experts and science guide us in defining acceptable risk. And despite our interest in reopening elementary schools, we've also seen cases increase at the end of this last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we've seen a high case rate of 59 today on Monday. And this weekend, the system was down at the state level, so we don't have reporting yet for Saturday and Sunday. And we're a little afraid that the numbers may be just as high as they were late last week and early this week. That being said, we may have to extend virtual learning, given how rapidly the conditions have deteriorated, potentially doubling in just the space of a week. That is certainly not a course of action we want to take. And if we hear information to the contrary tomorrow, we'll certainly continue on our current track. We're hopeful that the numbers for this weekend will be updated tomorrow and we'll be able to have a better idea of where things are at. We know that uncertainty is incredibly difficult for our families and our teachers. But like I had said at the top, we've let the advice of experts and science guide us. And, this may be the rapidly deteriorating conditions that I had previewed in my letter that I had sent out last Wednesday. So I don't know our exact course of action for this upcoming week right now, but we will be investigating this heavily tomorrow and hope to have a decision as soon as possible so that families can plan and staff can plan. So I wanted to make that announcement. I know it's not definitive, but we have to let the conditions in the community guide us so that we can keep our students, our families, and our staff safe.
So Dr. Engel, just to reiterate, what day this week are you looking at to let the board and the district and community know?
Our goal would be able to make a decision tomorrow if we have accurate data. The sooner we know, the sooner we want to let our families know. Shifting gears on food service and transportation and special education services requires time, and we're already under the gun, so to speak. And so at the very latest, we would make a decision on Wednesday, but we're hopeful to move sooner if we can get accurate data for the 7-day average for the last week.
Thank you. Any other questions from school board members about that announcement?
I have a comment just briefly. I just got an email, actually, maybe it was, I guess it's a telephone call, turns into an email as well from food service already, so that email went out. So that's going to add some more confusion. Just probably 2 hours ago, maybe, or something like that. So I'd be heads up on that. And then I do have a question about face to face. Are you going, since we have some students that are able to go face to face, does that mean the athletic teams are going to be able to utilize some of their contact days?
So we're in the midst of discussion about co-curriculars and athletics, and we know how important those are for our students in terms of mental health and connection and identity. And the reason we would consider reopening elementary schools at a certain point is that due to the control and the mitigation factors we're able to put in place, we feel like we can bring those students back safely. And so even if we couldn't bring back all of our high school students into a building at one time, we're considering whether we can safely conduct co-curriculars and athletics, you know, underneath the guidelines that are out there for those activities. And so we are considering, you know, if we bring back elementary students back in person, can we safely bring back co-curriculars and athletics as well? We haven't come to a final conclusion on that, but we know that there's a lot of interest in those areas, and we recognize the importance that those activities play in our students' lives. And so we're heavily considering trying to make that happen.
So I have a question. Yeah. So I had a family reach out to me, and this family has 6 children, and they are all in elementary, and they're really worried too about COVID. And so if they decide to not have their kids go to school, what is their option? What is the next option?
We have had some families transfer into the CRVA kind of midstream. We know that people's thinking on how to handle the personal learning experience for their children has differed and changed over time as people have learned more. So that has been an option we've explored with some families. A lot of the concerns that we have heard, our principals and teachers have been able to work through with some of those families. But for any family that has a concern, it's our goal to work with them and create the conditions where their child can continue to learn and in a safe place for that family. So I guess it's, in some cases, it's a bit tailored. There's also some more routine options that are available, but we're working with any family who has a concern to address those.
All right, thank you.
And Dr. Engel, should that family reach out to the principal, or who should that family reach out to?
The principal is the best point of contact to work through those options. Absolutely.
All right. Any other final questions or comments regarding Dr. Engel's announcement before we move on? Okay. Are there any other announcements from board members? Okay. Then we're going to move to agenda planning.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 26, 2020 budget approval levy certification and the November 2nd, 2020 Board of Education agenda with any additions or corrections.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Korberg and seconded by Ms. Como to approve the October 26, 2020 budget approval levy certification and November 2nd, 2020 Board of Education agenda with any additions or corrections. We will have a roll call vote.
Ms. Como,
Aye.
Ms. Leahy,
Aye.
Mr. Lee,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer,
Aye.
Mr. Korberg,
Aye.
Mr. Spivey,
Aye.
Dr. Cooper Stoll.
Aye. All right. So with that, we're going to move to board debriefing, and Mr. Korberg is going to serve as facilitator for us this evening.
Well, thank you, President Cooper-Stoll. Just a couple observations that I kind of got from tonight's meetings. I wanted to mention also the grants and contracts that we received in our school district. I think it shows the support in the community of what our schools are doing, and it's always great to see those and that goes across all of the district to all the schools. I'm glad that and appreciative of the board for passing the operational expectations. I think that's a good form of governance. We may have a few bumps along the road here and may learn that we want to do things differently, or may have some different expectations once we get through this. But I think we've got a good start at that, and the board has approved that, so we're moving forward with that. Also, a good point of tonight's meeting was to hear from students. Mr. Baines, thank you for joining us. It's always great to have a student's perspective, and we do look forward to hearing what you have to say, and if your group student council comes with any concerns or praises, we want to hear those. And I'm glad that we have an opportunity, and the board has an opportunity to do that. And then one final observation is just as far as the COVID changes, appreciative of our administrators and everyone, and teachers and staff for being patient, and patience is starting to run thin, I'm sure, but just to be able to go with the flow and to stay aware and help our parents and help our students, and I just hope that can continue. And anything that the board can do, teachers out there or parents or administrators, just to let us know. We're here to try to help and assist. And I think our board is looking for an opportunity to move forward with anything that we need to do for that regarding COVID. Those are kind of my observations. A couple comments. I didn't really see any need for improvement. Just appreciative how fast sometimes these meetings go, and because we have things in order and everything's done. But we also know that we will take the time if need to be taken if we do have something that comes up and that we have to discuss, and we'll take that accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Korberg, for facilitating the debriefing this evening. And just to let other board members know, Ms. Steigerwald has added content to board docs for facilitators if they want to use that as well. Also, I forgot this. Let me remind you now, board members, if you have not responded to Mr. Marcoux's email about information he is seeking, I'm asking you to please do that. All right, so we're going to move into take a vote to move into closed session before we adjourn. So the La Crosse Board of Education will consider a motion to move into closed session on Monday, October 19th, 2020, immediately following the Board of Education meeting, virtual only, pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.851E, for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Can I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
So moved. I make a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made by Mr. Korberg and seconded by Ms. Como to move into closed session. So Ms. Steigerwald, can we have a roll call vote?
Ms. Como?
Aye.
Ms. Leahy?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Meyer?
Aye.
Mr. Korberg?
Aye.
Mr. Spivey?
Aye.
Dr. Cooper-Stoll?
Aye. So with that, the regularly scheduled board meeting for this evening is adjourned.